Today we're going to see 17 fantasy books that are perfect for fall in just 17 minutes, and we're going to range in starting from what is really a cozy story to a somewhat dark, creepy or spooky story. And let me know down below, because I think that you will be surprised about the ones that I have in the 5th, 6th and in the 16th position. And let's start with a book that screams to me fall more than any other, with An Enchantment of Ravens, which is a standalone by Margaret Rogerson. This is young adult, it reads very fast and it has a very adventurous, light-hearted tone. It is very tropey, but it's so much fun. It's a quest at its core, and we will follow this character that has a unique gift. She is a master painter, and one day she gets this commission from the Autumn Prince, but something goes wrong, and from that point onwards they will need to embark themselves on this journey. And there are a lot of vivid descriptions around the beauty of fall, the leaves falling, the colors, and it's very cozy. The characters are ridiculous and it's super fun to read. Then we move to the king of cozy fantasies, and that is Legends and Lattes. This also screams fall because it's a book that you need to read while just cozying up with a blanket. If it's raining outside, all the better, or if it is a little bit cold, it is phenomenal. I was very surprised that I liked this as much as I did. It is pitched as high fantasy with low stakes, and the main story is that we will be following this girl who is an orc, and in the past she was a warrior, and now she wants to leave everything behind. She has a new dream, and that is to open a coffee shop, and we're basically gonna be following her through her dream, and we will meet incredible charismatic characters. Everything is so cozy, and it's just very low-key charming. It's very easy to read, very compelling. It has a sapphic romance, and you know, it's just charming. And we continue here still with the cozy fantasies with one of my favorite reads of this year, and that is A River Enchanted. I cannot explain how much I am obsessed with this duology. It is not only beautiful, but it also just made me feel so much. From the beginning, you're placed in a situation where you know that things are going to be magical. You're set in this island in Scotland that it's divided in two. Girls have been kidnapped, they are disappearing, and one of our main characters needs to come back because he seems to be the only one that can do magic with music. This is a kingdom full of magic, full of spirits, and there are different points of view. All of them are adult characters. It has a romantic element, but it's not the main core of the story. It is not angsty. It is done in such a beautiful way. Once that I started this book, I wasn't able to stop reading it. I've said before that this is perfect if you like Madeline Miller, either Circe or The Song of Achilles, because it does have a similar vibe to it. Like, the writing style feels similar. It is magical, and I cannot recommend more. Also from this author, I have a standalone that I'm really obsessed with, but also mad because it's not very well known, and that is Dreams Lie Beneath. It has such a unique premise, and it reads in a way that feels so magical, so vibrant. And listen, we mainly will follow this land where if someone has a nightmare, that nightmare can come to life. So there's these magicians that are actually writing down everyone's nightmares, because when there's new moon, one of those nightmares will come alive, and they need to be prepared, they need to fight. Everything has such a great ambience. It's slightly gloomy, spooky, but it is beautiful at the same time. It feels very fairy tale-esque, and it's to me a perfect book to read if you are getting prepared for Halloween. It isn't spooky, but it's so interesting to see the different nightmares. Very adventurous. The end, it's not perfect, and I think it's a little bit rushed, but nonetheless it's a read that I was fascinated by. And in position number 5 we have one of my favorite books of this year, and I'm very surprised about that, and this is A Psalm for the Wild Build by Becky Chambers. This is such a short story. It reads super fast, but it's not a read that you want to rush. It's a read that you just want to spend hours with it. It's the perfect story to just fall in love with, to read slowly, to savor it. Already from the beginning, when you open the book, you see that this is dedicated to everyone that needs a break. So that is something that feels very relatable. And the whole story, it has such symbolism. The story feels very simple, but what you get from it, it's really profound. At least I found that, and I was so charmed. It was really stressed at the point in which I was reading it, and it just really decompressed me. It really helped me. And it's the story about this monk that does not really know what happens with him, because although he is achieving everything, he does not feel happy, and he needs to change things, and along the way he will do different things, and It is great. In position number 6, another favorite read of this year, we have Yumi and the Nightmare Painter by Brandon Sanderson. This is Secret Project 3, and it is not only beautiful because it has incredible illustrations, but because the prose is done in a way that feels lighthearted but feels cozy. It is adventurous, and at the same time it feels so inspiring. It has a great world building, and honestly it's one of the worlds that fascinates me the most from Sanderson, and that is saying a lot. In one hand, we will have this land that has no sun and they are in complete darkness, with the exception of these two lines that go throughout the whole land. One of it's blue and the other one it's purple, and they are neon lights. So it already was super beautiful to me to imagine that setting, and in here nightmares are coming to life, and the way for these characters to face them is to paint them, and I thought that was very beautiful, very cathartic, right? If you face your nightmares and convert them in something different, what you can get from them, it is fascinating. And in the other hand, we'll have this land where the spirits live, and we'll have your story with one character for each of these lands and them being magically connected. They will change places and they will need to learn the craft of the other one. It has a beautiful romance, and overall it's a read that I really, really recommend. In position number 7, and we're transitioning already to the darker themes, we have Nettle Bone by T. Kingfisher, the queen of standalones, and I cannot love these more. It is very easy, very fast to read. It is a quest. You will follow different characters, all of them misfits, and it is a little bit spooky. We have a lot of this foresty setting, which to me screams also fall, and one of these characters will have a dog that it's made just with bones, and that follows her, like he is her animal companion. Here we'll follow this girl Mara, and she has realized that her sister, who is married to the prince of other realm, has been treated very badly, and she will need to go there, try to stop this and avoid a war unfolding while not really believing in herself. I reckon you need to push through the first 50-30 pages because I was not really understanding what happened, but then it very quickly became one of my favorites. It has a witchy component here, so very full. In position number 8, we have Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. Now this is the perfect book if you want something that is cozy, but it touches really dark and profound themes, in this case death and grief and moving forward. We will have classic Klune here with his stone. He is very satiric, and he is honestly very good at crafting characters that are not really likable at the beginning, but that you develop something for them, you want to root for them, and he usually also creates this cast of characters that are misfits, but that has something that you just want to be with them, be part of their crew in a way. And the premise of this book is that our main character has just died, and he's welcomed by this Reaper that basically tells him that he needs to go to this house that is in the outskirts, is kind of like in the forest, spend some time before moving forward into the beyond. And we will see how he will reflect about his life, about his doings. He will find himself, love. It is a beautiful read. I still believe House in Cerulean Sea it's better, but this one also had very good themes, and I think it's a very full. In position number 9, we have Godkiller, which is the first in a series, so not concluded, just the first one is out. And as you can see already, the book cover screams fall, and it's basically the setting which makes this book fall oriented or a perfect read for autumn. It reads very fast, it is very adventurous. The pacing, it's super fast. Every time it's something is happening. Very short for what it is, so it's a story that you can really read on a weekend, on an afternoon, and it has a very fascinating premise, which is that the gods live among us, and they are kind of a bad deal. They have been alive for such a long time that they are kind of corrupted, they have so much power, and they need people in order to remain alive, and we will be following different characters here. One of them is this girl that is basically hunting and killing gods, and the other is a girl that just finds herself in a very tough situation and being followed and kind of bonded to one of these gods, a small god, the god of the white lies. The beginning of this book, it's amazing, and it hooked me from the first pages. In position number 10, and we are properly transitioned to darker themes, we have Belladonna. It is here because our main girl basically cannot die. She tries, and when she does that, she can see death. And already that, it's very dark, but it just really turns gothic because we will get her trying to figure out a mystery in this house that it's all creepy and all gothic, and something is happening. She will need to use her powers. I said it before, but I say it again. It's one of the best prologues that I've read in my life. It's beautiful and savage, and it's just such a good take of what the whole book will be in terms of how beautiful the prose will be, how the descriptions are, and it's a perfect book if you want something that it's beautiful but at the same time it's slightly dark. In position number 11 and 12 we have a somewhat underrated author with two stories that I believe are perfect for this season. In one hand we'll have For the Wolf, and the best thing about this book, it's the magic and the vibes, the setting overall. It's kind of like this forest that it's always in continuous twilight, and that feeling was like, yes, I want to live here. It is a little bit of Beauty and the Beast retelling, but honestly, not really, no. In terms of magic, we'll have two main threads. In one hand, there was going to be this foresty magic, but in the other hand, we will have shadows. And that's why I'm actually recommending it, because there are things that go really dark real fast, especially by the mid-end of this book and book 2. Another amazing thing about this story is that the main characters are two sisters. And although there is a little bit of romance here, the main thread, it's how these sisters are willing to do whatever it takes to take care of the other. The story kicks off though with the second sister to the throne, our main character here, being delivered to the forest as a tribute to ensure that the wolf is happy and that he keeps guarding the forest from the monsters, the creatures that are looming to get outside. And in the other hand, we have the Foxglove King, which is such a gothic, spooky book. It is set in Versailles, France. The main character is able to command the dead. Such imaginary. We will follow this girl through the catacombs of Paris. It has a very intense premise because it seems that complete villages have been killed and no one really knows what is happening. So she is found because of her powers, and she will be thrown into the Versailles politics, and she will need to play a role here to try to figure out what happens. And speaking of gothic and slightly spooky books, we have in position number 13, House of Salt and Sorrow. This is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses, and we will follow our main character who lives in this manor by the sea, completely alone. They are the people of the salt, and she basically sees a ghost. She is seeing her sisters, the ones that are dead, and you see scenes that are so creepy. I still remember some scenes, some moments where I was like, holy shit. This also has an incredible narrator in case you want to give the audiobook a try. In position number 14, we have one of my favorite books, and that is The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. This is not only beautiful because it has illustrations, which is always a plus in order to, you know, get into the vibes, but it really touches themes that are intense and that are very Octobery and spooky. We will start with a brutal murder, and the only one that remains alive is this baby, this little child. He somewhat manages to remain alive after this attack, and he kind of like starts living in a graveyard where he is taken care by the spirits that live there. It is beautiful and creepy because we will follow this assassin that is trying to find this boy and trying to kill him. And as you read that, you see how he is very, very dark and how he wants to kill, and the proper theme of living in a graveyard, talking with ghosts is still slightly cozy but very dark, and it is a fantastic read. In position number 15, we have The Wicked Deep, which is a standalone that has witchy components and that it's so gloomy and so dark, and it's a very good read. We'll follow this village where previously 3 witches lived. They were drowned, and from that point onwards, every season they come back and they take 3 boys and they drown them in order to get revenge. And people in a way are okay with this, they are accustomed to it, but we will follow the story of this girl that just finds a new boy that is coming to town. He seems a good guy, but she wants to ensure that he is not one of these boys that are going to be drowned, and the story unfolds from there. But honestly, the story, how you read why and how these witches were drowned, how they come back, they are looming in this village, it has a great ambience. In position number 16 we have a dark book that I loved to pieces, one of my favorite books of this year again, and that is Blood of a Bright Haven by Emil Wang, the same author as The Sword of Kagan. And this is dark academia, and we will follow our girl who is about to become the first woman that is a mage, and she will train, she will learn, and she will be part of this group of scholars that wants to push the magic barrier that is surrounding and taking care of the village forward in order to expand it, because outside of this city the blight happens, and that is kind of like lightning just going, striking at you, breaks you completely, very savagely, like all blood and bones and nothingness. It is savage, it is very intense, it touches topics such as colonialism and sexism, and it's a book that I believe will make you feel rage, but I found it completely mesmerizing, fairly inspiring, and I loved it, although it is dark. And we conclude this list with a series that it's super dark, and it's again one of my favorites, and that is The Empire of the Wolf, with the first book, The Justice of Kings. This has such a gloomy setting. First book really reminded me to The Witcher in terms of this is gloomy, this is a small village, always raining, and something weird is happening, but they don't know what is happening, and you need to figure out what. You don't really trust the people, but at the same time you have not all the choice. And we will be following the point of view of this girl that it's basically helping this man who is the justice, and he has these magical powers. He's able to talk with the dead, to command them, and he also has the voice of the emperor, which implies that if he speaks, you then will do whatever he wants. And it is very dark. It has such a good blend of politics and religion. I loved it. It took me a solid minute to understand how everything was placed, but I loved it so much. Very dark, so something that it's perfect if you want to read something while the days are getting darker. Right, and let me know down below what are some books that are perfect for fall in your opinion. I cannot wait to see them, and thank you so much to my patrons who joined the secret society and are helping me save the book spirits. If you want to know more, check the details in the description.